everyone, Jane from Old Earth Minerals. Today I'll be working with this petroleum quartz crystal using copper. The first thing that I do is examine the stone. Natural stones are a little bit more tricky because you need to figure out the best way to wrap it. On this piece, this side is really interesting. I don't know if you can see the detail in there. It's better than this side. This side's pretty too, but we'll go with this one for the front. And then we look at the angles. This is a little more symmetrical down here. So that will be our bottom, and this will be our top. So we need about 9 inches of the square 20 gauge wire, and about 7.5 of the half round. We'll start with this. And the first thing you want to do is straighten your wires. When they come off the spool, they're pretty uneven. So I take nylon pliers and just run them along and smooth out that wire. Now you can use other tools available. There are little rollers that work just fine. You can use your fingers. This wire is not too thick, so you could use your fingers. And you want your wires to be nice and flat. Next, we'll take our half round wire and we're going to wrap the 3 base wires. And just be very consistent. And smooth. Now you can wrap toward you. This is just the way I am used to. But you can do it however you wish. And I don't measure, so if you are a technical person, you can measure. I just don't. Okay, so eyeballing it here, and then I will take the stone. Just see, yes, I think that will be just right. So I'm going to move it toward the center. And again, I don't measure, you can, of course. I don't. I'm going to take some flat nose pliers. We're going to squeeze it slightly. We do not want it to be non-movable, so we can adjust it down the road if need be. And then take some flush cutters. Just snip that off right in the middle of the 3 base wires. And just push them down just slightly. Like I said, you want this to move so that as we work towards setting the stone, we might, need to adjust that. Okay. So now we put where we cut the wires, make sure those are on the inside. It will be toward the stone. Squish those together a little. Take your flat wires here and try to estimate where the center of the coils will be, and then form it into a V, like so. And here's where we need, here's where we need to be able to adjust. That's why we didn't push those down too hard. Okay, now we will take our stone. We're going to place it right in that V and just see how it sits. And then we will, if it sits properly, when you're satisfied, bring the wires around the stone, like so. Okay, and now we'll we'll take our needle nose and make sure that that is center. You want this to be exactly center with that. Not exactly, I don't measure. And then squeeze those together. So you get that. So we have the shape that our stone will fit in. And now we will tie these wires together to form the frame for our stone. Here is the 28 gauge round wire on the spool. And I'm going to wrap it around all of the 6 wires, keeping them snug but not overlapping. And then once you feel it's pretty secure, tuck it down in between and snip it so that when you squeeze it, it will be on the inside. Now we flip it over this way. Take the 2 back wires, get those out of the way. So this will be our bell. And we want to put those together. Give a little bend on each side. It'll be easier when we're weaving. And then at the bottom, I take the flat nose pliers and go right in there, tweezer pliers, and just give it one little squeeze so there's just a little gap in here. And that's so it's nice and even. Okay. Bring your wire over the 2 wires, up in between, back around, and then over the bottom wire and in between. Around both, between, over the top, over the bottom, and in between. So you go over both, in between, over top, over bottom, in between. And then squeeze your wires down. And that you just keep doing that until you get to where you think your bell should stop. The key with the bell is consistent tension. And that really just takes practice. But you want your tension to always be the same. If you pull too tight, you'll squeeze your wires together. And if you don't have enough tension, you'll get little pieces that stick out. So practice. Practice makes perfect. But not always. I screw up often. This looks good. You want your bell to be symmetrical to the stone. You don't want a bell that's too big or too small. That looks good. I'll leave this attached so that if I decide I need it longer, we can still work with it. Okay, this is the front of our pendant. So push your bell wire forward. And then I am using the bell forming pliers, but you can easily use a pencil. You don't need these. They're nice, but you don't need them. Okay, you just squeeze that around. Pull those out. And just enough. So I am going to snip this off. Make sure that you cut inside so that the cut end won't be touching anyone's skin or clothing. It'll be tucked away on the inside. See? So now we will take our two bell wires and we'll bring those toward the front, like so. And with one side, we will bring that around. Now don't pull too hard or this will become uneven. Give it a snip so that we can tuck it in. And then what I do is just smash down the end of that wire so it sort of tapers. And then tuck it in and squeeze. Sounds like an 80s workout. Tuck it in, squeeze. Okay, we'll do the same with the side. Snip it off. Taper it a little bit. Tuck it in and squeeze. So we can see I bent it a little bit out of shape as I was working with it. So this is the point where you want to straighten that out. And you might have to again. But I always like to go in with it straight. Make sure that these are even. And that is why we did not squeeze them very hard earlier. And once you have them where you want, stick your fingernails or a tool in between the wires and just pull them apart ever so slightly. You really don't want to bend them, you just want to loosen them from each other so you can stick your pliers in there. I can't get it. There we go. There. Just make it easier for us. And it keeps this in place too. Okay, now it is time to set our stone. And sometimes it goes smoothly. And other times, as you form the bell, it just doesn't seem like it will fit. Most of the time, it works. Okay, now on the back, we'll start there. We would just want to push these over a little bit, so put your pliers between the back two wires, pull over, do the same on the side. And we can adjust it a little more later, but the stone won't fall out right now. Pull that out just a little bit. And this one. Okay. All right. Now go down between the first two wires. Grip it. Make a commitment. When you grip that wire, grip it good, because otherwise you can really, really damage your wire. And do the same on this side. Looks good. Okay, our stone is set, and now the fun begins. I plan on making this very simple. I think the stone is gorgeous. We don't want to take away from that. So I'm just going to coil these around, not coil, swirl. And place your finger or your thumb there. Just hold those wires together and come around. Like so. Bring them around the back and back again to the front. And we'll secure those wires here. Always gives it a little extra security when you're wrapping around the entire piece. Okay. Taper those a little, squish them down, and then tuck them in. I don't think I could tuck 2 wires when I started out, so if you're beginning, you could do one at a time. Okay. Now, I have 2 wires left. You could twist, you could add beads, you could do whatever you want. For this, I am just going to keep it simple. Bring it around. This one I will tuck in the back because we only have 1 wire left and we want that covered. So snip it off back here. You don't have to worry about tapering these because you won't see these from the front. So no need to waste your hand strength. Okay. And then same thing, just going to bring this around. And same thing, snip it. Tuck that back and squeeze. And there you have it. I will oxidize and polish, and then it'll be finished.